It's Mast Malang coming through right here on The Vibe. A very, very good morning to you and welcome aboard. Now, alongside me is Krupa Chohan, the Chief Commercial Officer of Mi Vida. And Krupa is an accomplished commercial leader. I mean, over a decade of experience. And you're saying no, but yeah, you are. I mean, a decade plus, in sales, finance, real estate, an ex-banker by profession. She brought quite a unique blend of financial expertise and deep market insight into her role at Mi Vida. So just jumping right into it, Krupa, tell us a little bit about Mi Vida Homes as a brand, your role as the Chief Commercial Officer. How's that going?
Thanks, Malika. I don't think I've ever heard anyone introduce me like that. So Mi Vida Homes, we're a real estate developer. I'd say relatively new in the market. If we were to compare ourselves to some of the more established real estate developers in the market. So we came in 2018, set up shop at Garden City, which was our first residential development. And then I think, over the last 7 years, we've been lucky to be able to just grow and scale from there. I think our main focus is probably on just creating well-planned, high-quality urban communities. So we try to sort of live by the ethos of what Mi Vida actually means. So Mi Vida means my life. And that's probably the philosophy that sort of guides everything that we do, from design to construction to just even how our residents would experience their homes. I suppose to your second question, as Chief Commercial Officer, my role sort of oversees the sales, the marketing, the partnerships, the customer experience, and I sort of sit at the intersection of, product and customer, and what we do is we sort of try to make sure that whatever we're building today makes sense, 10, 15, even 20 years down the line.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, it's become quite a well-known name in the Kenya's real estate space as well. So what would you say sets Mi Vida apart when it comes to, let's say, planning and the long-term vision, the quality, all of that and beyond for like homeowners, investors as well?
I'd say three things, really. Mm-hmm. And the first that I would go with is master planning, right? So we try not to build just standalone buildings. We try to create integrated precincts, where homes and things like that all sort of come together. So it's really an ecosystem where you can see how individuals interact with their spaces, from how they go to work to where their kids go to school to, how they use the amenities and things like that within our developments. The second one would probably be just quality and delivery. So I think we're very disciplined in terms of what our design standards are, who our construction partners are, and I think the biggest one for us is probably timelines, right? I think as developers generally in the market, we've created a bad name for ourselves where people say, something is going to be ready in March of 2026, and you'll hear people say, actually, they're not going to be ready by the end of the year. Until the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to sort of move away from that, and everything that we've delivered, I'd say over the last 5 years, we've either delivered ahead of schedule, or exactly when we had said we would, and we're hoping that sort of helps bring back an element of trust in the market, really.
Okay.
And then I think the last one for us is just long-term thinking, right? So we're not building for today. We're building, for the long term. And it's whether you're an owner, whether you're an investor, or you're an end user, is this product still going to be relevant, a decade down the line? Is this still somewhere where tenants will want to live, where, investors are still making a decent return on their investment?
The longevity aspect, it's so big, right?
Exactly that,
and we're actually going to jump into 237 Lulu at Garden City in just a few short minutes. Stay with us. Badshah has to announce himself, but his music already does that for him. This is Radio 44. I'm Malika, listening to The Vibe, and of course we are carrying on this conversation with Krupa Chohan from Mi Vida. So Krupa, let's focus on 237 Lulu at Garden City, right? Now, what inspired this development, and this particular project, and within the Garden City master plan? How did it all come about?
So I think Garden City was always sort of envisioned to be, like a true mixed-use development. So literally a city within a city. I think 237 Lulu was obviously inspired by the way modern urban residents live today. So it's Garden City is a fully like integrated mixed-use development, and Lulu has been sort of plugged into that to really just complement that ecosystem. I think what we've seen a growing demand from young professionals, families, and investors, who want to sort of they want convenience, but they don't want to compromise on that convenience. So somewhere you can live, you can work, you can shop, you can socialize, and then still sort of go home to a relatively calm, well-designed home. So I think Lulu was probably our response to that lifestyle shift that we are now seeing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And like a typical day for somebody who would be within 237 Lulu, what would it look like?
So I think it would look like convenience, really. It's you wake up in a well-designed home, you step downstairs, you're directly connected to the mall, you're directly connected to the business park that we have there. You have restaurants, you have a gym, you have green spaces all around. So if you're a professional who's working nearby, or you're just a parent who's sort of juggling between, I guess, work and family, or maybe just an investor who's thinking about tenant appeal, it's everything is within walking distance of where you live. So I think it's urban living where your lifestyle is really simplified to the best that it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like, what unit types are available at 237 Lulu? How have these been designed to meet the needs of the kind of young professionals, families, investors that we've been chatting about?
Yeah. So we have a mix. I think that caters to everyone. We have 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Your 1 beds are probably your entry price level units, to people who want to own their first home. These are, young professionals who probably commute into the city or into Westlands every day to work. We then have the 2 and the 3 bed apartments that are slightly bigger units, which now cater to, young families, obviously growing families, so parents with a child, maybe 2 children. I think the amenities that we have provided within the development are, to a point where they cater, to that sort of growing community. So whether you're a young professional and you want to hang out and there's coffee shops and things like that, or whether you're a young family and you want to be able to take your kids swimming or, kick a football around in the grass, I think Lulu's been designed to complement whatever lifestyle, I suppose, you're looking to live.
That's great. And, talking about different types of investors and things like that, what about the attractiveness of Lulu in terms of your rental yields, occupancy, long-term capital growth for somebody looking at it from that perspective?
So I think I'd say Garden City generally is a really strong rental node within Nairobi. Our occupancy levels have been, over and above 95%, since the time we started our first development there, which was back in 2015. So I think the beauty about that is that it's tried and tested. We're not going into a new sort of jurisdiction where we're not really sure what the rentals will look like. I think the proximity to offices, to the UN hub, to embassies, is a great plus. So we have a big expat community that obviously lives within our developments. I think the other reason why our rentals are as high as they probably are is people enjoy living, I suppose, in what we call master planned communities, right? Where, tomorrow somebody's not going to buy the piece of land next door to you and build 20 stories and block your view. Whereas with what we have today, you know exactly what your neighborhood's going to look like even a decade or 2 down the line. So I think, it's investors who are not speculating. The infrastructure is already there, and what we're doing is we're sort of just adding on to an already thriving community.
All right, that makes so much sense, because I think today's investor, today's buyer, today's renter, there are many things they're looking for in terms of just beyond what am I seeing in the present? How will it evolve into the future, what will come around it,
Exactly.
and all of that. So we'll keep on carrying on this deep dive. Stay with us. For now, it's Tyler with a brand new Chanel. Where your jhumka falls is also a big question, because location is key, especially when it comes to real estate, right? And of course, we're carrying forward this conversation. Krupa Chohan, Chief Commercial Officer at Mi Vida, joining me right here in studio. So Krupa, when we talk about the Kenyan sensibilities around property, now I know that many of us would think, okay, I'm going to save up, I'm going to buy a piece of land, and then, I don't know what's going to happen with it down the line, how I'm going to play with it. So what is that perspective like now when it comes to developments, yeah? And people who are first time homeowners, buyers, trying to get into that game and say, okay, I've saved up this money and now this is what I want to put it into. How have you found the Kenyan sensibility around first time buying?
There's obviously a sense of nervousness, every time, when you're buying your new home. And we experience a lot of that, obviously. People coming to us and saying, I'm looking at buying either my first home or my first investment. I'm not really sure how to sort of go about it. I think we've obviously seen a lot of people moving away from this trend of buying land and building houses. It's becoming a headache having to deal with, that construction as individuals. And then I think the bigger question everyone sort of asks today is, how often do I sort of go back home to where I have this piece of land and I've built this house to actually enjoy it? Excuse me. So what I think we've seen a lot more of now is probably people doing that as retirement homes, but not as homes for your everyday kind of use. And so what we see a lot of now is obviously a lot of individuals saying, well, I live in the cities, I work in the city, I spend 80 to 90% of my time here. Ideally, this is where I need to be investing. And a lot of the times, obviously, we're happy to handhold them through that process. Under the KMRC sort of loan now, it's become cheaper to obviously take mortgages from banks. So, a first-time homeowner who's buying, a home less than sort of 10, 15 million shillings can get access to a KMRC loan at single-digit figures, which makes it that much more affordable, even for them in terms of being able to buy into it. Most banks under this structure offer up to 100%, even 105% financing. So you're not sitting there saying, well, I don't even have a deposit to pay, because you don't have to do that. So I think we're really seeing the market open up in that sense. I think we're seeing a lot of investors still continuing, their investment into real estate. We have a lot of serial investors who sort of follow us project to project. And I think what we try and do is obviously ensure that whatever they buy with us yields what they're looking for. Ideally, most of our projects yield anywhere between, I'd say, 8 to 10% for, unfurnished units. That goes up to about 15-16% if you furnish your units, so the yields are decently high, even if you were to compare them to what, I don't know, say fixed deposit rates are today.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't put your money in banks. It's good to have a balance.
Yes.
But, you can get very nice returns depending on what you buy into.
Yeah, it's about expanding it, right? Rather than it's sitting, accruing, accumulating. I think it's just basically, it's not apples and apples. You really have to assess. And, jumping off of that, for first investment property buyers, why would you say now is the right time to invest in 237 Lulu?
So I think whether you're an investor, whether you're a homeowner, for investors specifically, we've obviously seen a very strong rental demand. We're seeing interest rates sort of stabilizing in the market. And just, I guess, there's a limit of high quality stock in prime locations like, Garden City and places like that. So I think for first time buyers, it's probably an opportunity to enter the market with a secure income generating asset. For seasoned investors, it's about how do I lock in value in a proven development before, prices start to escalate, I suppose. I think timing matters when you get into real estate, and I think Lulu specifically probably sits at a very attractive point in that cycle today.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. And of course, there are some exclusive offers as well during this campaign that we're going to jump into shortly. So you definitely need to stick around to understand how you can take advantage of this at this time. All right, for now, we've got DJ Angel with this one. Rehna tere kol, but where are we staying? You know, is it a grand villa? Is it an apartment? Real estate matters. And that's exactly what we've been talking about. And 237 Lulu at Garden City, Mi Vida is definitely on point when it comes to that one. And you can find out how to buy in. Krupa Chohan with me still. So you're running exclusive offers, right, during this campaign. Tell us a little bit about that and how can somebody secure a place at 237 Lulu?
Yeah, so you're right. We are running limited time incentives, which obviously includes, preferential pricing. On select units. I think flexible payment plans as well, just to make it an easier entry for first-time buyers. We have prices for our 1 bed starting from about 5 million. Our 2 beds at about 9.4, 3 beds at about 13 million, and we have discounts for cash prices available from about 1 million to 2.5 million shillings. So this is really, a good time to get into your investment. I don't think we've ever given discounts like this in the past. So I think anyone interested should, sort of reach out sooner rather than later to avoid missing out.
Amazing. And how can they reach you?
So super easy. I think you can obviously, our first point of contact is visit our website, which is www.mividahomes.com. You can reach us on our office line. I'll just say out the number. It's 0722 123 000. Or just come pay us a visit at Garden City. Come see what we've done in the past. Look at the projects that we have going on. You'd actually be able to see where 237 Lulu is coming up. We'd be happy to walk you around.
Amazing. Krupa, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you. Any last thoughts you want to share with us?
No, I just thank you for having me. And I think, it's been great being here. And I think we look forward to doing more of this.
Amazing. Brilliant. So make sure you pay them a visit. 237 Lulu at Garden City is where it's all happening.